Okay, welcome back to another pickup vid. I've got 6 games altogether. Well, kind of 7, but it should have been 8. Let me explain. So I've got 6 physical games. There are 3 for the PAL Super Nintendo. There's 1 for the PAL Sega Saturn. And then there's 2 American for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox One. The one that I've kind of got is the one you can somewhat see behind me, which is Cuphead on the Xbox One. It's an Xbox One exclusive. Console exclusive. It is out on the PC, it's not out on the PS4, and I don't believe it is coming out on the PS4 either. But what I'm going to do for Cuphead is, on these Wednesday week vlogs, if you've ever seen any, that I do every now and again. I guess I didn't do one for like 3 or 4 years, and I've done, I think, 3 or 4 in the last month and a half. So on a bit of a roll with those. So I'll do another one on either, well, next Wednesday or the Wednesday after. And as I usually do in those vids, towards the end of the vid, I'll have a segment of, what I'm playing. And I'll talk a little bit about Cuphead, and I'll show the game and all that kind of stuff. But what I will say is that it is good. It's probably worth the wait. It is a good game, but it's brutal. It is so difficult. It's ridiculous. But we'll elaborate on that. We'll talk more about it next week or the week after. And then the one game which I haven't got, which I was planning on showing, but it's actually arriving tomorrow, and that's FIFA 18. But FIFA 18 is just a generic, sports game, isn't it? So if I remember, whether it makes any difference or not, well, it doesn't. But if I do remember, it'll be on my next pickup video, either later this month or next month, either way. So let's crack on with the, what should we do first? Let's do the Super Nintendo games first. Like I say, there's 3 altogether. Now, this one is a classic. It's one that if you haven't got in your Super Nintendo collection, then, I mean, there's no way of phrasing it, no other way of phrasing it. It is a glaring omission. It's one, if you don't have, people will say, why haven't you got it? Or if they're looking through your collection, they're expecting at any time to see it. And if you haven't got it, again, they'll say, well, why haven't you got it? That's kind of weird. So you've got to have it in your collection, really. With that said, it is the kind of game which has never massively appealed. I've put this on for about an hour, and I do like it. So I have been playing it, which is good because it cost a bloody fortune. And I'm not too happy with that, but we'll talk about that in a second. But this particular game, yeah, it's a classic on the system. It's one which, like I say, I've never really got into. A friend of mine had it not long after it came out. I can't remember if I played it, but I certainly watched him play it. And if he did hand me the controller, I probably handed it back after about 5 minutes, because it's just not really my kind of game. It wasn't then, and it still isn't now. But as I do get older, I am finding I'm getting into these things more and more. And that game, bloody hell, talk about a big build-up there, is The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. So, yeah, a classic. I think we can all recognise that it's widely accepted as a classic. Now, the one thing I'll say about this, it's not so much the game itself, but it's the seller on eBay advertised this as absolutely mint, collector's condition, 9.5 out of 10. And it isn't. It is not 9.5 out of 10. Now, annoyingly, by him putting that description, it enticed me and a stack of other people to bid on the game, because it wasn't a buy it now or a best offer. It was a standard auction. So the price went through the roof. And I mean through the roof for this one, as a result of the seller being a little bit sneaky and not putting up too many pictures. He put up this picture, which is fine. That looks good. He put up that picture, I think, which is good. And he put that at a bit of a distance, which does look good. Now, the problem with this at the front, now you may think I'm being fussy, but it went for way more than it usually does. But let me show you, see if you can pick it up. Now, right at the bottom here, around about here, give or take, if the light wants to show it, you can just about see it around about there. And it's a kind of a line that goes up. It's like an indentation, and it does it at the top as well. It's almost as if something's been, maybe it was a cardboard that was folded on the box during transit, in which case, fair enough, the seller didn't do it, but then maybe didn't package it rightly. But, so maybe that was done during transit. Now, these weren't, so I wonder if you can work that one out. Can you see the damage at the top? Yeah, you can. You see underneath the Zelda there, A Link to the Past, you get like a couple of scuffs, and then on the black bit to the left, there's a line that goes down. That is not in great condition. It's not mint, it's not collector's condition. If you look at the back, where the writing is, you see along the strip here, usually there'd be like a strip. I guess when you get it brand new, you take that strip off, and sometimes it leaves some sticker residue. So it's done it there. Now, it actually does look a little bit worse on the camera. It's not that bad. I don't know, it's beeping out there. It's always, if someone's not walking by annoying me, it's someone being too loud or beeping their car. Jog on. So, yeah, completely threw me. So, yeah, it annoyed me because the seller marked it down as, or listed it as mint collector's condition, and as a result, the price just went up. You know, like to the point where it went for more than what it should have done. Now, what I didn't do, or what I haven't yet done, is contacted the seller and said, look, mate, here's some pictures. That isn't mint, that isn't collector's condition, and maybe I'll get 20, 30 quid back, because I really should. I just haven't done it yet, been a bit busy and all the rest of it. So I'm going to have to do that soon, I think, because that's just unacceptable. Now, despite that, what I will say is that if you've got a copy of Zelda yourself, then the chances are, and I know it didn't look great, but it maybe shines up a little bit more, but the chances are, if you've got a copy, this is probably better than yours. I'm not being funny, but I mean, it is very, very good. Obviously, there'll be some of you watching go, no, mine's better. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the average person who owns this game, the average person, this still is probably in better condition. But still, it's not mint. It's not collector's condition. Bloody eBay. What's wrong with people? Seriously, I do not understand. Now, the next one that I've got for the Super Nintendo, this is a really good game. It's I talk about Cuphead being hard. This is off the scale, man. This is harder than Cuphead. This is so, so difficult. And we're coming to that time of month, you know, with Halloween just around the corner, really, at the end of the month. And it's Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And I love the kind of the purple and green kind of colour mix, which sounds a weird one. And it sort of looks terrible, but looks great at the same time. So, and I love at the back there. Can you see that? Oh, where is it? Yeah, there we are. $39.99 Woolworth sticker. And that's staying on. I love those kind of stickers. It takes me back to a time and to an era. It tells a story of the particular person who bought this game, bought it from Woolworths. I really like that. Or at least the original owner. And yeah, it's a real kind of you know, dose of nostalgia and a bit of a tip of the hat to the past. So anyway, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, so difficult. Looks really nice though, and again, if I show you the back, I'm sure you're all aware of it. Like a 2D side-scrolling platform game, essentially. And yeah, notoriously difficult. Now, I don't think it's a bit of a spoiler because most people know this, and I've not even got that far, as you'd imagine. But I think once you complete the game, to get the true ending of the game, you've got to go back and then do it again. So complete it consecutively twice, and that is just, I mean, Jesus, doing it once is really hard. Doing it twice, you must be having a laugh. So, yeah, I've put it on, played it for maybe, again, about an hour, a bit like Zelda. Just half an hour here and there. And it's really, really good. And yeah, pleased to have it. It's another one which I think personally is an essential game for your Super Nintendo collection. If you're into the SNES, you've got to get it. And again, that was another one which was not cheap. It's always commanded a bit of a high price, but especially these days, you know, SNES games are just increasing all the time. And I think, to be fair, you know, people always talk about, oh, when are the prices going to come down? And they probably will eventually. But you've got to remember, with games like this, you know, they're limited, aren't they, to a degree? They're not like today, where hundreds and thousands, or millions actually, of copies are released. So, you know, getting the likes of, I can't even think of a modern game off the top of my head. Well, I was going to name this one, but that's the one I'm going to show in a bit. But just a modern Xbox One or PlayStation 4 game, you are not going to struggle to get it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. 50 years from now, I could be looking for something like a Gran Turismo, and I'll find it. It's not going to be hard. But trying to find Super Nintendo games in the future, in fact, even now, is very, very difficult in great condition. So with that in mind, with the limited or somewhat limited numbers, they're probably going to keep their value, if not get even more expensive, which is a shame for people getting into the SNES now, because it's so pricey, and it's putting a lot of people off, which is disappointing for them, kind of great for me, because it keeps the prices a little bit lower, I guess. But if you're thinking about getting into the SNES, then yes, it is expensive, but maybe now is the time, because if you leave it for another few months or another few years, it may be well and truly off the scale. It may be, I guess time will tell. But anyway, the last Super Nintendo game is this one. I've wanted this for ages. It's a Capcom game. It's kind of like a 2D fighter or scrolling beat-em-up stroke platformer, really. And it is so good. I didn't play it back in the day. I don't even think, to be honest, I was aware of it. Maybe I saw it in like a magazine or something, or possibly a friend had it, but I never had it. I'm not going to pretend I did. and it's only in recent years that I've kind of become familiar with it. But it's another one that kind of does hover around that, I don't know, like kind of 80 quid to like 115, 120 price bracket. So it can be expensive. And obviously, with the SNES, the better the condition, the more money it's going to go for. So, yeah, you could find maybe a battered condition copy for, 40 quid, 50 quid. But if you want it in this kind of condition, which is excellent, bordering on mint, but not quite, then, yeah, you're looking at 100 there or thereabouts. And that game is Magic Sword. And I love the colour. The lilac background with the sides. It looks amazing. I'm just obsessed. Always have been since I was a kid with the Super Nintendo PAL boxes. That's the reason I've got to go PAL, really, despite being in America. And I love this as well with the Capcom games, where you get this design. I think it's on all their boxes as well, and it's on the other side. But if maybe you want to store your games like that, or put them on the shelf. I usually do, to be honest. I usually have them like this. I know some people can have it like that. I guess each to their own, isn't it? So yeah, this is a really good game. It's actually quite easy. Now, don't quote me exactly on this, because I know this isn't exact. I'm just going off the top of my head. But when you start a brand new game, I think there's 50 levels altogether. It's not a spoiler, because it says it on the back there. You won't be able to read it, but there's some kind of screenshots if you can see them. But when you start the game, it gives you like a choice of, do you want to start from, well, level 1, as you'd imagine, or do you want to start from like level 3, level 7, level 10? And I think it goes up to around about, give or take, sort of level 30. And you might think, as I did, well, that's weird. Why would you start a game? Why would it be like that, where you can choose to start the game at level 30? And I think the reason why, as weird as it sounds, it is kind of weird logic, is that, well, let's look at it from what happened with me. So I started the game at level 1, because I thought, well, I don't want to start level 30. I'll miss out on half the game. What do I want to do that for? So I started off on level 1, and then after a few goes, I started getting better, obviously. And I reckon maybe by the 10th go, and maybe a little bit less than that, I was getting beyond level 30, with the 3 lives or 4, whatever you're given. So every time I started a new game, I started to think to myself, well, why do I want to go through all those 30 levels again? I've already done them. I know what happens. There's a lot of secrets to uncover. So the longevity's, replayability is definitely there for these kind of games. But I thought, well, I don't want to do that. So for me, the minute I kind of progressed quite easily beyond level 30 is the minute I starting the game past level 30. And it's still difficult. It's still quite hard. I've not finished the game yet. I think I got to the last boss, going back a couple of days. And I made a few mistakes. I could have beaten him, but I knobbed it up. What can I say? So it's not that difficult a game. With that said, I did get to level 50, like I say, starting from like level 30. So to go from start to finish, doing it the proper way, is probably very challenging. So yeah, it's a weird addition to the game to start 30 levels in to like a 50 level game. It's really strange. But I guess it saves you going through all that nonsense if you don't want to and if you've done it before. In a way, it's kind of like a cheat mode. And I'm not sure how people stand with that, because it's a little bit weird. It's the first time I've ever seen a game do that, straight from the option menu. But there we are. It is what it is. What can you do? But it's a really good game. Magic Sword, thoroughly recommended. So yeah, all 3 of these games, bloody expensive. What can you do? Super Nintendo, bloody pricey. Now the next game, I can't really elaborate on this too much, and you'll see why. I'm just going to tell you what it is and show you what it is. It's Pro Pinball on the Sega Saturn. It's just a pinball game. What more can I say? I guess I can do the whole box complete thing. I tell you what, the thing that annoys me with these boxes is every time I open these particular Sega Saturn boxes, with like the card, the hard kind of, oh bloody hell, that as well, the bloody disc will fall out. Something's about to go wrong with it all the time. It's flimsy, the instruction manual will fall out. Honestly, they're so badly designed, yet at the same time, they're hugely nostalgic, and I do really, really like them. And I love that kind of the uniformity that they've all got, with the black spines and the white writing, or could be coloured writing, I guess, but this one's white. And I've always loved that, the blue kind of Sega Saturn logo down there, and the kind of the blue tint to it. I just really, really like Saturn games. Obviously, I prefer the rounded plastic versions. All games should have been like that. So I'm not really fond of these, not really, nostalgia aside. And I'm not really fond of those big kind of NBA cases as well. I think Need for Speed was another that came in. Magic Carpet was another Sega Saturn came. A big kind of VHS style case. Not a fan of those. But the standard ones, like same size as this, but rounded with plastic on, those were amazing. They should all have been like that. But I guess they weren't. Now, there's 2 left. Let's do the PS3 one. So, yeah, it's funny because I had this game on a pickup video. I'm going to hazard a guess, 4, 5, 6 years ago, not long before I started my channel, or not long after I started my channel. And I played it on the 360 for, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours or so. And I did like it, but having so many games, you know what it's like, especially back then. Back then I was a master of buying a game, playing it for a little bit, sticking it on the shelf with the intention of going back to it, and then I didn't because I bought a load more and I completely forgot about it. Whereas these days, what I'm tending to do is buy a game, put it on. Did you see it there? I don't think you did. And appreciate and enjoy it. Now, I've not finished it, and I've not actually played it for around about a week and a half or so, 2 weeks. Yeah, maybe about a week, give or take. But it is really, really good, and it's the first, I think, in a trilogy on the last generation, and it's Batman Arkham Asylum. So, so good. Now, I'm not going to lie to anyone. The graphics for me, they are very good. They're excellent. But you definitely start to see the difference now. You know, now that we've got the likes of the Xbox One and the Xbox One X, which is coming out, the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and now we've got this new hardware. These PS3 and 360 games, they do look a little bit aged. They really do. They're starting to show their age, as you'd expect. I mean, this came out in, I don't know, I'm looking on the back. Is it 2009, 2010? I can't see it, brilliant. But it was around about 2009, 2010. So, 2009, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's knocking on for 10 years. So it still looks good, don't get me wrong. And then after like kind of 10, 15 minutes, you soon get immersed. And, yeah, last generation is still very, very impressive. So I'm not saying it's rubbish. It isn't. It's really good. But you definitely start to notice, especially if you play a lot of modern games, PS4, Xbox One, you definitely start to notice that the PS3 and the 360 are starting to look a little, not worse for wear, but you can tell they're last generation. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, there's not much of a difference. There's a massive difference. There is a massive, massive difference between PS4, PS3, Xbox 360 and Xbox One. It's huge. Now, admittedly, the gap isn't as big as maybe previous generations, but it's still there. You really do notice. I noticed specifically, I think it was Forza Horizon 2 on the Xbox 360. Now, you play that, and then you play the Xbox One version, and it's like a different game. It looks amazing on the Xbox One, well, certainly in comparison. And the 360 just bland. It plays okay, it feels good, but it's so bland that, yeah, it's just not good enough. I don't know why you'd want to choose that version over the Xbox One, unless you obviously don't have an Xbox One. So anyway, for those who are still thinking, still on the fence, you know, should I go next gen? Should I get an Xbox One? Should I get a PlayStation 4? You know, the 360 PS3 still looks really good. Well, yes, it does look really good, but come on, think about it. New technology, it looks a lot better. But I guess you'll cross that bridge and you'll come to it when you get there. But for me, no-brainer. When new technology comes along, I always want to get it. And, you know, when the PS5 comes out, I'll be there buying that, I imagine. I imagine as well, it'll be on a pickup vid for the future, but that is for the future. Now, last but not least, we have a game on the, speaking of, the Xbox One, and it is Forza Motorsport 7. Now, this is the Ultimate Edition. I did hint in a relatively recent vid that I knew I'd be buying this probably at launch. Comes in a nice little kind of steelbook as well. A lot of games come with steelbooks now. So, yeah, it's a really good game. It looks nice. I did say, was it my vlog vid? I think it was when I showed some footage of the demo that they released that I was playing. I did say that there's one new track in the game, which is really sneaky. And so far, I do think that still is the case. I've only experienced one new track. But they've got a lot of others from Forza 6 and Forza 5. So there are a lot of tracks. The dynamic weather does look fantastic. Some of the rain effects looks amazing. It's so impressive. And there's thunder and lightning on certain tracks. Maybe on many of them, actually. Like I say, it's that dynamic lighting. The rain, the reflection from all the lights and the floodlights, especially at night, of course, looks so, so good. So it is definitely better than 6 and better than 5. But I just feel that with one new track, it's a little bit cheap. It's a little bit unfair, and there could have been more. I'm sure they'll release DLC, and there'll be more tracks with that. but that will be sneaky. So it's a very good game. It's just Forza at the end of the day. It's just a driving game. It's an arcade stroke simulation. Doesn't really bring much new to the table, but in terms of aesthetics and looking good, well, it does look good. So I'm really pleased to have it. It retails for $100, which is expensive, because you get a few extras, like DLC, and I think you get like a car pack and all this kind of stuff. But I got it for around about, I think it was like 75. So I saved $25, which I was pleased with. $75 is around about 55 quid, give or take. So kind of a standard release price, but I'm just glad that I got the discount. You know, if you shop around on Amazon, sometimes they do deals if you're a Prime member, or maybe people on eBay. eBay's a good one. I was talking about FIFA before. Now, obviously, that just come out, I think, last week. It's it's more than that. I think it may be $90, $80 or $90 for the Ronaldo edition. Again, I don't know what you get. Maybe a little bit of DLC, which doesn't really bother me because I don't take FIFA online. Weirdly, being a massive football fan, I can't play it online. Not interested at all. But I didn't want to pay $90 for this thing. So I had a look on eBay, and there's someone selling it brand new, sealed, $50 free shipping. Brilliant. Thank you very much. $50, again, being around about 35, 40 quid. Absolute bargain every day of the week. So rather than pay almost twice as much through Amazon or anywhere else like GameStop at the mall or somewhere, just go on eBay. It's obviously very competitive because people want to sell their products, so they're always kind of undercutting other sellers. $50, absolutely brilliant. Now, I couldn't see this one for $50. If I did, I would have bought it. But like I say, I think it was around about 75-ish dollars on Amazon, so I was pleased to do that. So anyway, that's it. 6 games altogether. Kind of 7 with Cuphead, which has faded away into the background. And somewhat 8 if you include FIFA. I guess you can't really include that one. But I'll have that on a pickups video either later this month, as I say, or next month, whenever I do the next one. I also, yesterday, went on a massive spend-a-thon, buying a few games. A couple of PS1, there was a Sega Saturn game, and there was another 3, or was there 4, Super Nintendo. Oh, what am I thinking? It's coming towards the end of the year. You know, when it gets towards Christmas, you've got to treat yourself, haven't you? You have to absolutely prioritise bills and stuff. Don't be a lunatic. Don't be a lunatic, because it's very, very easy to spend a lot of money on the Super Nintendo. But if you can afford it, then I think go for it. And of course, if you want to do it. You know, don't do it because it's popular. There's a number of YouTubers right now in the community, the gaming community, buying PAL Super Nintendo. And I'm sure they're all doing it for legitimate reasons, absolutely. I don't think there's anyone just doing it for a laugh. But there may be some people who would get easily influenced and may start buying PAL SNES games, and it's going to hit your wallet big time. So unless you're interested genuinely, don't bother. Don't bother doing it because it's very, very expensive. But for someone like me who grew up with the Super Nintendo, and I've always, I think since my channel started, it's always been PAL with me. Yeah, I bought the odd American game, and I may in the future, but I've always obsessed about PAL, as you'll know, for the nostalgic reasons. So I love doing it because I absolutely love it, but it's an expensive hobby. Just be careful before you dive feet first. Anyway, enough preaching from Father Alex. I'll show you the games again. Until my next vid, and my next vid actually may be a Liam Gallagher unboxing vid of his new vinyl, which has just come out. I know I did that Verve one. Obviously, you would have only watched that if you like music, clearly. So yeah, I may start doing them quite regularly-ish, those music things. Just for people who may be interested, that's all it is. It's not for views, it's not for likes, it's not for comments. It's purely just to help people try and, I guess, decipher whether they want to pay that money for that particular record. Because some of these are very expensive. So that they may watch it and think, do you know what? I don't get a lot of money for that, or a lot of value for the money. Maybe I'll just get the standard version. Or maybe they don't want to get it at all. So I just do those videos just to help people. That's all it is, who are thinking of buying it. So that video will be maybe, could be tomorrow, could be kind of Sunday time, give or take. There'll be a vlog, there'll be a football vid's going to come soon. Loads of stuff as per usual. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you later.